Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. The mirror reflected a stranger. Soft curves replaced hard angles. Delicate features emerged where once there had been sharp lines. Donnie's trembling fingers traced the contours of his face, marveling at the transformation. His sister's makeup lay scattered across the bathroom counter, evidence of the past hour's experimentation. Heart racing, he leaned closer to the mirror, hardly daring to believe the image before him. Long lashes framed wide eyes, a hint of blush warmed pale cheeks, and glossy lips parted in wonder. For the first time in his life, Donnie felt a sense of rightness, as if he was finally seeing his true self. The sound of a car in the driveway jolted him back to reality. Panic seized his chest as he realized his parents were home early. Frantically, he began scrubbing at his face with a washcloth, desperate to erase any trace of makeup before they walked through the door. "Donnie, we're home," his mother's voice called from downstairs. "Just a minute," he shouted back, voice cracking. He cursed under his breath, fumbling with the faucet as he splashed water on his face. The bathroom door creaked open and Donnie froze, washcloth pressed to his dripping face. His sister, Emily, stood in the doorway, eyebrows raised as she took in the scene before her. "What are you doing?" she asked, her gaze shifting from Donnie's panicked expression to the array of cosmetics on the counter. I was just..." Donnie stammered, unable to form a coherent excuse. Emily's eyes softened as understanding dawned. She stepped into the bathroom, closing the door behind her. "Here, let me help," she said gently, taking the washcloth from his trembling hands. As she carefully removed the last traces of makeup, Emily spoke in a low, soothing voice. "It's okay, If this is something you want to explore, I'm here for you." Donnie's eyes welled with tears, overwhelmed by his sister's acceptance. "I don't know what's happening to me," he whispered. Emily pulled him into a hug, her embrace warm and comforting. "We'll figure it out together, okay? But for now, let's get you cleaned up before Mom and Dad see." Over the next few weeks, Donnie found himself drawn back to Emily's makeup stash time and time again. Each experiment left him feeling more alive, more authentic. Emily became his confidant, offering tips and encouragement as he explored this new side of himself. One afternoon, as they sat cross-legged on Emily's bed, she broached a subject that had been on both their minds. "Have you thought about trying on some clothes?" she asked, gesturing to her closet. Donnie's heart leapt at the suggestion, equal parts excitement and trepidation coursing through him. I've thought about it," he admitted. "But I'm scared." Emily squeezed his hand reassuringly. "There's nothing to be afraid of. It's just us here, and I want you to feel comfortable being yourself." With shaking hands, Donnie selected a flowing summer dress from Emily's closet. The fabric felt cool and light against his skin as he slipped it on, a stark contrast to the heavy denim and cotton he was accustomed to wearing. When he turned to face the full-length mirror on Emily's closet door, his breath caught in his throat. The person staring back at him was a stranger, yet somehow more familiar than the reflection he'd known his whole life. "You look beautiful," Emily said softly, coming to stand beside him. Donnie couldn't speak, overcome with emotion. For the first time, he felt like he was seeing his true self reflected back at him. As the days passed, Donnie's confidence grew. With Emily's help, he began to build a small collection of feminine clothing and accessories hidden away in a box under his bed. Each time he dressed up, he felt more at home in his own skin. One evening, as Donnie sat at Emily's vanity, carefully applying eyeliner, she posed a question that had been on her mind. "Have you thought about choosing a new name? Something that feels more... you?" Donnie paused, the eyeliner pencil hovering just above his lash line. He met Emily's gaze in the mirror, considering her words. "I hadn't really thought about it," he admitted. "Do you think I should..." Emily shrugged, a small smile playing on her lips. "It's up to you. But if you want to explore this part of yourself fully, A name that resonates with your true identity might help. Donnie set down the eyeliner, turning to face his sister.
What would you suggest?
Emily's eyes lit up with excitement. Oh, let's brainstorm. How about Sophia or maybe Olivia? Donnie shook his head, neither name feeling quite right. They spent the next hour tossing ideas back and forth, giggling over some of the more outlandish suggestions. As the laughter died down, Donnie's gaze drifted to the window, where the first buds of spring were beginning to appear on the trees outside. What about April? He said softly, the name feeling right on his tongue. Emily's smile widened. Smile? April, she repeated. I love it. It's perfect for you. Fresh, full of new beginnings. From that moment on, Donnie began to think of himself as April when dressed in feminine attire. It was like unlocking a door to a part of himself he'd never known existed, yet had always been there, waiting to be discovered. As April grew more comfortable in her new identity, she longed to venture outside the safety of Emily's bedroom. The thought of facing the world as her true self was both thrilling and terrifying. What if we went for a drive? Emily suggested one lazy Sunday afternoon. Just around town, you can dress up and we'll stay in the car if you're not ready to get out. April's heart raced at the idea. Are you sure it's safe? Emily nodded reassuringly. We'll be careful. And remember, you're beautiful no matter what anyone else might think. With trembling hands, April got ready. She chose a casual outfit, skinny jeans, a flowy blouse, and a pair of low heels. Emily helped her with her makeup, keeping it natural and subdued. As they pulled out of the driveway, April felt a mix of exhilaration and fear. She kept her eyes glued to the side mirror, half expecting to see people pointing and staring. But as they drove through town, nobody seemed to pay them any mind. See? You're doing great! Emily said encouragingly as they stopped at a red light. April took a deep breath, feeling some of her tension ease. This isn't so bad, she admitted, a small smile tugging at her lips. As they cruised down Main Street, April's confidence grew. She even dared to roll down her window, enjoying the warm spring breeze on her face. Suddenly, Emily gasped. Oh no, I forgot. We're almost out of gas. April's stomach dropped as Emily pulled into a nearby gas station. What should we do? She asked, panic rising in her voice. Emily squeezed her hand reassuringly. It's okay. You can stay in the car if you want. I'll just run in and pay. April nodded, sinking lower in her seat as Emily got out of the car. She watched nervously as her sister disappeared into the convenience store. A tap on the window made April jump. She turned to see a young man about her age standing outside the car, a friendly smile on his face. Hesitantly, she rolled down the window.
Hey, I'm sorry to bother you,
the stranger said, but I think you dropped this when you pulled in. He held out a small tube of lip gloss, one that must have fallen from April's purse. Oh, April said, her voice barely above a whisper. Thank you. The young man's smile widened. No problem. I'm Zach, by the way. I'm April, she replied, surprising herself with her boldness. Nice to meet you, April. You new in town? I don't think I've seen you around before. April's mind raced, unsure how to respond. Just then, Emily returned, eyeing Zach curiously as she got back into the driver's seat. Everything okay? She asked, looking between April and Zach. Yeah, April said, finding her voice. Zach here was just returning my lip gloss. I dropped it when we pulled in. Emily's eyebrows shot up, but she quickly composed herself. Oh, that was nice of him. Thanks, Zach. Zach nodded, still smiling. No problem at all. Well, I should get going. It was nice meeting you, April. Maybe I'll see you around town sometime? April felt a flutter in her chest. Yeah, maybe, she replied, unable to keep the smile from her face. As Zach walked away, Emily turned to April with a grin. Well, look at you, making friends already. April laughed, feeling a warmth spread through her. For the first time, she'd interacted with someone as her true self, and it had gone better than she could have ever imagined. The encounter with Zach at the gas station marked a turning point for April. The positive interaction boosted her confidence, making her more eager to embrace her true self in public. Over the next few weeks, April and Emily ventured out more frequently. They started with short trips to the mall, where April could browse women's clothing without drawing too much attention. Each successful outing emboldened her further. One sunny Saturday, as they strolled through the park, April spotted a familiar face. Zach was jogging along the path, his golden retriever trotting happily beside him.
April,
He called out, waving as he approached.
hey, it's great to see you again.
April felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as Zach slowed to a stop in front of them. "Hi, Zach," she said, her voice steadier than she expected. "This is my sister, Emily." Emily shook Zach's hand, a knowing smile on her face. "Nice to meet you, Zach. April's told me about your encounter at the gas station." Zach grinned, scratching his dog behind the ears.
Well, I'm glad I could be of assistance. This is Max, by the way,"
he added, gesturing to the panting retriever. April knelt down to pet Max, grateful for the momentary distraction from her racing heart. The dog's tail wagged furiously as he licked her hand.
He likes you,
Zach observed, his eyes twinkling.
Max is usually a pretty good judge of character.
April stood up, brushing dog hair from her sundress.
He's adorable,
she said, feeling more at ease.
Listen,
Zach said, his tone turning slightly nervous.
I don't mean to be forward, but would you maybe want to grab a coffee sometime? There's a great little cafe just down the street.
April froze, caught off guard by the invitation. She glanced at Emily, who gave her an encouraging nod. I'd like that, April replied, surprising herself with her boldness. Zach's face lit up. Great. How about tomorrow afternoon, say around 2? They exchanged phone numbers, and Zach continued on his jog with a wave and a smile. As soon as he was out of earshot, Emily squealed with excitement. Oh my God, April, you have a date! April's eyes widened as the reality of the situation sank in. What am I going to do? I can't go on a date. What if he finds out, Emily put her hands on April's shoulders, looking her in the eye. Hey, calm down. You're an amazing person, April. Zach clearly likes you for who you are. Just be yourself and everything will be fine. Despite Emily's reassurances, April spent the rest of the day and most of the next morning in a state of nervous excitement. She tried on countless outfits, finally settling on a floral print dress with a denim jacket. As she applied her makeup, her hands trembled slightly. What if he can tell? She whispered to Emily, who was perched on the edge of the bathtub, offering moral support. April, look at yourself, Emily said firmly. You're beautiful, inside and out. Zach would be lucky to have you exactly as you are. Taking a deep breath, April nodded at her reflection. You're right. I can do this. The cafe Zach had suggested was a cozy little place with mismatched furniture and the rich aroma of freshly ground coffee beans. April arrived a few minutes early, her heart pounding as she scanned the room for Zach. He walked in moments later, his face breaking into a wide smile when he spotted her. April, you look amazing, he said, giving her a quick hug. The warmth of his embrace and the sincerity in his voice helped calm April's nerves. They ordered their drinks, a latte for April, an Americano for Zach, and found a quiet table in the corner. As they talked, April found herself relaxing more and more. Zach was easy to talk to, with a quick wit and a genuine interest in what she had to say. They discovered a shared love of old movies and debated the merits of various directors. I can't believe you've never seen Casablanca, Zach exclaimed, shaking his head in mock disappointment. April laughed, her earlier anxiety all but forgotten. Well, maybe we'll have to watch it together sometime, she said, surprising herself with her flirtatious tone. Zach's eyes lit up. I'd like that, he said softly, reaching across the table to take her hand. The touch sent a jolt through April's body. For a moment, panic threatened to overwhelm her. What if he noticed her hands were different? What if he suspected? But Zach just smiled, his thumb tracing small circles on the back of her hand.
I'm really glad you agreed to meet me, April, he said. I've been hoping to see you again since that day at the gas station. April felt a warmth spread through her chest. I'm glad too, she replied, meaning it with all her heart. As they left the cafe, Zach asked if he could see her again. April found herself agreeing without hesitation, the joy of the afternoon overriding her earlier fears. Walking home, April felt as though she was floating on air. For the first time in her life, she had been truly seen and accepted as herself. The future, which had once seemed so uncertain and frightening, now held the promise of new experiences and deeper connections. As she recounted the date to an excited Emily, April realized that this was just the beginning of her journey. There would be challenges ahead, no doubt, but she felt ready to face them. With the support of her sister, and now potentially Zach, April was ready to embrace her true self and all the possibilities that came with it. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of emotions for April. Her relationship with Zach blossomed, each date bringing them closer together. They explored the town, discovering hidden gems like a quirky bookstore tucked away in a side street and a picturesque hiking trail just outside the city limits. Through it all, April's confidence in her identity grew stronger. She began to experiment more with her style, no longer confining her true self to secret moments at home or carefully planned outings with Emily. Her wardrobe expanded, filled with clothes that made her feel beautiful and authentic. However, as her happiness grew, so did her anxiety about keeping her past hidden from Zach. The weight of her secret became increasingly heavy, casting a shadow over their budding relationship. One evening, as they strolled hand in hand through the park where they had reconnected, April knew it was time to be honest. The setting sun painted the sky in vibrant hues of orange and pink, a beautiful backdrop for what she feared might be their last moment together. Zach, she began, her voice trembling slightly, there's something I need to tell you. He squeezed her hand gently, his eyes full of concern. You can tell me anything, April. What's on your mind? They found a bench overlooking a small pond, the surface reflecting the colorful sky above. April took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. I haven't been entirely honest with you, she said, her gaze fixed on their intertwined hands. There's something about me that you should know. Zach remained silent, giving her the space to continue at her own pace. I was born different, April continued, her voice barely above a whisper. I was assigned male at birth. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with implications. April held her breath, terrified to look up and see disgust or anger in Zach's eyes. Instead, she felt his hand gently lift her chin, encouraging her to meet his gaze. What she saw there wasn't revulsion or hatred, but understanding and warmth. April, he said softly, thank you for trusting me enough to share this. It doesn't change how I feel about you. Tears welled up in April's eyes, a mix of relief and disbelief washing over her. You're not upset? Zach shook his head, a small smile playing on his lips. How could I be upset? You're the same amazing person I've been falling for these past weeks. This doesn't change who you are to me. April let out a sob, years of pent-up fear and anxiety releasing in a flood of emotion. Zach pulled her close, holding her as she cried. I was so scared, she whispered into his shoulder. I thought I'd lose you if you knew the truth. Zach stroked her hair gently, his voice low and soothing. You're not going to lose me, April. I care about you, all of you. This is just another part of what makes you who you are. As her tears subsided, April pulled back slightly, searching Zach's face for any sign of hesitation or doubt. She found none. I don't know what to say, she admitted, wiping her eyes carefully to avoid smudging her makeup.
Zach smiled, reaching out to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. You don't have to say anything. Just know that I'm here for you and I'm not going anywhere. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching as the last rays of sunlight disappeared below the horizon. April felt as though a great weight had been lifted from her shoulders. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future where she could be fully herself, loved and accepted for who she truly was. As they walked home that night, hand in hand, April felt a renewed sense of hope. There would be challenges ahead, she knew, but with Zach by her side and Emily's unwavering support, she felt ready to face whatever came her way. The following days were a period of adjustment for both April and Zach. While Zach had been accepting of April's revelation, they both recognized the need to navigate this new aspect of their relationship carefully. Zach, eager to show his support, began researching to better understand April's experiences. He asked thoughtful questions, always careful to respect her boundaries and comfort level. His genuine interest and effort to learn touched April deeply, strengthening their bond. One afternoon, as they lounged in April's room, a space that had become a safe haven for her true self, Zach broached a subject that had been on his mind. "April," he began, his tone serious but gentle, "I've been thinking. Have you considered, making this change more permanent? Like, legally and medically?" April sat up, surprised by the question. She'd thought about it, of course, but had always pushed the idea aside, deeming it too daunting or out of reach. I've thought about it, she admitted. But it seems so overwhelming. I wouldn't even know where to start. Zach nodded understandingly. "I've been doing some research," he said, pulling out his phone. "There are resources available, support groups, counselors who specialize in gender identity issues, doctors who can guide you through the process if that's what you want." April felt a surge of emotion, touched by Zach's thoughtfulness and support. "You've really been looking into this?" "Of course," Zach replied, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "I want to support you in whatever way I can. If this is something you want to pursue, I'll be right here with you every step of the way." Tears welled up in April's eyes. She leaned in, kissing Zach softly. "Thank you," she whispered against his lips. "I don't know what I did to deserve you." Zach pulled her close, his arms encircling her in a warm embrace. "You're you," he said simply. "That's more than enough." Over the next few weeks, April began to seriously consider the possibility of transitioning. She and Zach attended a support group meeting together, where April met others who were at various stages of their own journeys. The experience was eye-opening and empowering, showing her that she wasn't alone in her struggles and aspirations. With Zach and Emily's encouragement, April also started seeing a therapist who specialized in gender identity issues. Dr. Ramirez was a kind, middle-aged woman with a warm smile and a wealth of knowledge. In their sessions, April found a safe space to explore her feelings and fears about transitioning. "Remember, April," Dr. Ramirez said during one of their sessions, "there's no one right way to transition. This is your journey, and you get to decide what steps feel right for you." As April became more comfortable with the idea of transitioning, she realized there was one more huge hurdle to overcome: telling her parents. The thought filled her with dread, but she knew it was a necessary step if she wanted to live authentically. Emily, ever supportive, offered to be there when April broke the news. "You don't have to do this alone," she assured her sister. Thanks for watching. Check out Patreon if you want to have early access to the other parts. If not, it will be online in a couple of days.